Hey all, Aaron here. You might know me as Brick Kiwi or Slanesh Devotee. I'm here with the Golden Plains Outpost, the Unicorn Stronghold, and I'm up against Yojin no Shiro for Lion. During a conflict, each attacking character they control gets +1 military for buying the Stronghold. Just looking through my provinces: Night Raid, Manicured Gardens, Shameful Display, Ancestral Lands, and Endless Plains. And I am just going to put Ancestral Lands under my Stronghold. I'm using it to fill in a weakness, is my thoughts with that one. Okay, I'm up against Scaros88, who is using Keeper of Earth, and I'm using Keeper of Fire. So here's my opening 4 cards. They seem alright. I'm pretty happy with those. I've got a Horde that's got heaps of military. I've got a few other handy cheap things, so I can get 1 or 2 of them to go with the Horde probably, so I'm happy with that. And I've got some perfectly reasonable conflict cards as far as I can see. I'm still learning, I'm still trying to figure things out. So I just wish Oscar Ross a bit of good luck, and he turns his cards, and then so will I. So let's see, he's got an Honoured General, which is quite good. He's got a Staging Ground, which will help him get a few out, Matsu Berserker, and a Death Seeker. So that's pretty reasonable. I'm likely to face quite a few military opponents, I would say. So I'm first player, and so what do I want to open up the game with? I'll describe the units as I put them out. So I decided to go for a Border Rider, which is a 2-cost unit with 2 military and 1 political, I believe it was, 1 glory, yep, Bushi Cavalry, and as an action I can ready it. Puts in the Matsu Berserker, 3 military and a dash for political, 1 glory, Bushi Berserker, no actions at all. It's just a nice cheap efficient unit there. Oh, no text. Shinjo Outrider, 2 cost, 2 military, 2 political, 2 glory, action during a conflict. Move this character to the conflict. Really nice character, really positive there. And he does bring out that Honoured General. I mean, it's hard to get the to pass up the benefit there. 4 cost, 3 military, 1 political, 2 glory, but it comes in and you honour it immediately, so it's actually a 5/3. But also any conflict which it's in, all participating lions or other participating lions gain +1 military. So really good with a swarm. And at that point I decide, actually, you know what, I'm going to pass. I'm thinking I want to save some fate through if I possibly can. And I want to get that bonus fate for passing. So he uses his Staging Ground, or +1 holding, that allows him to choose 2 face-down cards and provinces and turn them up. He gets himself a Steadfast Samurai, which is quite good. They can stay in play as long as he stays honourable. Well, far more honourable than me. And a Lion's Pride Baller, which really has to be one of the best cards in the game. 3 cost, 3 military, 2 political, and it can just send home its political rivals with its military strength. It's a really, really good card, that one. It's also got Bushi and Courtier, so it's, you know, some of those really important traits, and they're just there. Alright, so I've passed already. We're waiting to see if Oscar Ross wants to do anything else. He decides to bring out the Steadfast Samurai and put a fate on it. Oh no, just plays for 1 fate. And then he selected his honour bid, and I am selecting 4. I don't mind losing the honour. I didn't like it because I didn't want to turn his Steadfast Samurai on, but yeah, he's only done 1. But I decided I need a bunch of cards. So I give him the difference, 3 honour over to the Lion player, so I am now on 7 and he is on 15, which is quite rough, and I take my 4 cards. Okay, so I've got a few more options now. I've got a few different ideas here. Charge, Cavalry Reserves, Banzai. Okay, so in particular I'm curious about my 0 cost options. I want to save fate wherever possible. And I'm looking at my more expensive options and just sort of curious what they are. So I'm first player, so I just need to verify that we've got nothing to do in between the conflicts, or before we begin the conflicts. I just need to pass. I don't want to pass. I decide I'm going to use the IUG Wayfinder and see if I can find a nice target for my provinces. So here's a 1 cost, 1 military, 1 political, ancestral lands, bonuses for political. That's pretty good for me because I want to do military, so I'm pretty happy to go there. But as a reaction to the Wayfinder entering play, I am able to look at a province, look at a face-down province. So that's really nice. Trying to pick my targets as best I can. So I was about to target, and then I just wanted to check. Yep, Oscaros has no action. Okay. So I'm just looking at my military totals, and looking at who I can move in. I declare a conflict there. I am going to declare... Oh, what am I going to declare? Cards are good. I don't think I can bow any of his things. I could bow 1 or 2 of them. I could bow the Matsu Berserker, for example, unless he defends with it. Air, I decide I don't want to lose too much honor. Yeah, I think that's what I go with. Oh, I go with fire. Nope, I go with air. Sorry. And I'm military, yep. And so I'm just starting with the Wayfinder, and I have 2 other small units that I can use. So we turn up Ancestral Lands, which is a 5 strength province. I get rid of the Lion's Pride Brawler as well. That's why I chose that one with the Wayfinder, to see if it was worth trying to get rid of the Lion's Pride Brawler if I can break this province. Bonus in political is fine by me, because I'm not particularly fussed on using political here. He declares no defenders, which is fine. I'm happy with that. So we're waiting. He gets the first action. So what I've been thinking with my Unicorn deck, this is like the 2nd time I've tried out Unicorn, but I really want to lean into the not really worrying about defense, just really pushing the attack as hard as I possibly can. You know, obviously that's dangerous sort of a thing, and he is going to assassinate my Border Rider. Okay. So he loses 3 honor. His Steadfast Samurai is still turned on, but I'm able to use the Shinjo Outrider and move them to the conflict. He passes at that point, so I'm at 2 strength versus none. Not enough to break. And I decide to use my free cards still. I use Banzai, lose an extra honor, and so I am now at 6. I just want to make sure that verify that that means I'm breaking. Yep, just making sure. Now obviously this will probably get faster and faster, and people sort of learn etiquette on Octagon as we play. You know, we'll do things like confirm that means you'll break it or something, just so that we don't have to sit here and wait for each other quite so much. So I managed to break that province, and it is undefended, so he loses an honor, and I discard the Lion's Pride Brawler. I set my honor down 2 instead of up 2 for the air ring. And I think he points that out to me in a second so that I can fix that. Yep, I think I'm all set. Yeah, here we go. See, he points out that I've taken 2 honor. So I have got a charge, and I was considering charging the Horde into a military. But I guess the benefit of Unicorn is to try and really make it only exactly what you need to break through, so you can move things in just as you need them and only just put on enough pressure to get through. In theory, at least, that's the idea. Alright, so he wants to get rid of my horde, but I have 2 cavalry reserves, so I'm actually not too worried about the horde being in my discard pile, because it would be actually more useful for me to just bring them back out. It declares military and void, and this is a manicured garden, which is going to give me a fate. So I decide I may as well try and defend that. I don't really want to lose a void. I don't really want the horde to be in the discard, but if I can keep manicured gardens triggering more than once and getting myself a few options, that would be quite good. So he's going to, that's now 4 for the berserker and 2 for the samurai, the steadfast. He's at 6. And I'm thinking, at this point, I'm going to lose the horde anyway, either this turn or the next turn, so 1 cost for 6 military seems like a reasonable trade. I could still assassinate something if I need to, but actually the charge will encourage him to bump things up even further before I would try and assassinate anything. And I also have the katana, which is a free pump for military as well. So I'm now at 7-6. Brings out a banzai. Chooses up some honor, so he's adding 4, so we are now at 10 versus 7. And, I mean, unfortunately this begins to... it sort of gives my play away, but I'm going to ask who has gotten the banzai. So that's quite important. When you do the banzai, you need to declare, or because I believe you can actually split it evenly, so you could say actually they both get 2, which would probably be a reasonable thing to do in this sort of position, to ensure that you've got as much of a bonus as you can. So he's put it on the steadfast samurai. So that they're on 5 and the berserker's on 4, I think. No, 6. They're on 6 and the berserker's on 4. So he's trying to spread it fairly evenly instead of losing a whole bunch at once. So yep, I will happily assassinate out that steadfast samurai. That drops him down to 4 versus my 7. Yep. And he reminds me that costs honor, which absolutely it does. He's got nothing, so I am going to win this. Here we go. So I claim the void ring. He's not able to apply the void effect. And my guys bow and go home. Alright. I am pretty much out of options at this point though. So I will pass. Passes. And then he brings in, he's going to go for that same province, he wants to break it, and he's declaring an earth conflict. He wants to break it so I can't get the bonus fate again next turn if nothing else happens to it. So I declare no defenders, but my first action will be using my stronghold to bring in a... Oh! No, I can't do that. It's military. Oh gosh, did I notice this? I could have used the Shinjo Outriders action to do that, actually, rather than the stronghold. The stronghold only works in military attacks. I can use it when I'm defending as well, I believe, but it's only in military, so I shouldn't have used it this, but I believe the Shinjo Outrider, I hadn't used his action this turn, so that will be alright. 3-0. Actually 5-0, isn't it? And so I lose cavalry reserves. Yes, so I was looking at the Honour General having a 1 political here, plus an ornate fan is 3, but I forgot that he is always honoured, or at least begins the when you bring him in, he is honoured. So that's broken. But I just moved in the Outrider basically so I wouldn't lose the 1 honour for undefended. I didn't want to. I'm quite low already, and I didn't want to lose too many more. I already discarded one of my cavalry reserves, which, to be honest, that actually really hurts. I've already got quite a lot of cavalry in the discard, so being able to go, you know what, let's throw it all back into the game for 3 cost is pretty efficient, and it would have been really helpful. But I do manage to get the favour, having 2 rings, I think I had. Yeah, I've got 2 rings, he's got 1, and none of us have standing glory, so that's nice. We remove fate, we discard fateless characters. He got rid of his Death Seeker, which I thought was alright. I thought you could use the Death Seeker, but oh well. And in the turn, I'm happy to keep my Utaku infantry at the moment. Utaku infantry. Alright, so let's see, what do we got? Moto Youth, Shinjo Altan Sarnai, and a Favoured Ground Holding. I took the Favoured Ground because I was thinking maximise your strengths is what I was thinking for this. Just all military, all attack, all move in, just get some, you know. That was my thoughts with this deck. And he's got Toturi, so 5 cost champion, 6 military, 3 political, Bushi, and if he wins a conflict he can trigger the ring effect when he claims it, and then you get the ring effect after that as well, or before that as well, you get the ring effect and then you can claim it. Either case, you get an extra triggering of the ring effect. And he's put 2 fate on Toturi, which is absolutely worthwhile. So I go for my Otaku infantry. They're a 1 cost 0/0, but for every unicorn in the battle they get +1/+1, and that actually includes themselves. So they're always at 1/1 anyway. Throw out a Moto Youth. I'm putting 1 fate on everyone. I think one of my problems is I should either do no fate or I should do 2 or 3. I should really be more decisive rather than just a casual 1 fate on so many things. I end up paying extra for a lot of units because I'm not taking advantage of the efficiency of keeping them in for so many turns. So I go for 2 cards. What has he got? It is a 1, so he still gets something off me. Give him his 1 honour. There we go. Down to 4. I am not feeling good about this. Captive Audience, that makes me feel much better. And another Wayfinder. Yep, that seems quite helpful. So I'm thinking about going back through my dynasty and actually upping the cost of a lot of it, raising the curve, so that it's more useful to keep in those 4 and 3 cost characters, and then probably mulliganing away the cheaper ones, so that I can... He brings in 2 Akoma Prodigies with his staging grounds, just kind of amusing. But yeah, mulligan away the cheap ones so that I can justify in my head I'm going to buy 1 character and put a bunch of fate on them, and the next turn another one with a bunch of fate, and then after that maybe I'll get in a lot of the cheap guys. But does that really reflect my idea of using Unicorn to just charge as hard as I can straight away? I don't know. So yeah, I'll have to see what I think. So he goes Earth Ring, and he wants to discard Shinjo. I'm just checking that it's just Toturi, and thinking, oh, if he'd just sent Toturi with his... oh, I forgot to say, he had a an extra Tuturi turned up as well that he used to get an extra fate on Tuturi. If this had been Endless Plains, oh, I would have been so happy. It would have been so good. But it's not, it's shameful display, so I'm going to be able to dishonor and honor a couple of characters. So I'm declaring no defenders, but I had a Moto Youth, who I probably should have used as a defender, because he gets a bonus military in the first military conflict of the, where is he? +1 military for the first military conflict. And this is the first military conflict, so really I should be putting him in. I'm thinking about cavalry reserves and how I can use that. If I'd had both cavalry reserves, I would have been able to bring Shinjo in with some support in a second military battle, which I would have been able to do because I've got a captive audience. So, oh, it would have been so nice. I mean, obviously, I don't have the fate for it, but I would have had to plan ahead if I wanted that much fate. So I'm trying to decide on defenders, and really I should be putting in that youth, because he's just not going to get his bonus otherwise. No, I go no defenders. Alright. Yeah, as my first action, I take cavalry reserves, so I put in the horde, and then I can put in a 2-cost unit. The border rider seems perfectly good, especially because they can ready again, so they give me a little bit of extra juice from the reserves anyway. So he's on 6 military with his champion, and I am now on 8. Actually 9, because I've got the Imperial Favour, which I left on military. So I was saying sorry because I didn't notice for a moment. Alright, so he uses his stronghold to give himself 1 more military, so he's now at 7 versus 8. So I get him to dishonor 1. These guys are both 1 glory, so the border rider could be assassinated. So I put the honor on her, because actually that'll help my honor total. So that was what I was thinking there. It's now 4-9. This is interesting. Double the base military, which ignores the dishonoring effect first. That's not base, I guess. Base is a weird word. I don't really understand what base is supposed to mean, especially in relation to Way of the Lion. So Way of the Lion was a 0-cost way of philosophy that doubles a character's base military strength, I think, in the military conflict. So he's gone from 6 to 12, and then the dishonor brings him down to 9. I don't know why he's got 10. That seems odd. Fine Katana. Oh, 10 for the stronghold, of course. So now it's 11 versus 10. It's actually 12 versus 10. He uses his bonsai to get up to 14 versus my 11. I decide to go the whole hog. I throw in the Wayfinder, and I'll use that to just see what's under the staging ground. No. Yes, yes. What's under the staging ground? We're now at 14 versus 12, and under the staging ground is a fertile fields, which will allow him to draw a card, which I'm not too keen on attacking, especially because the holding will make it harder. So 14 versus 12, so he's passing, he's happy with that. And this is where I realise that it's the first military conflict. I move up the Moto Youth, so that's +3. We're now 14 versus 15, actually 14 versus 16, because I keep forgetting to incorporate the Imperial Favour. And he passes again, so I win. Alright, so after all of that, And I feel like I should have just let him take it in the very beginning. But my problem was he was going to be able to trigger the Earth Ring twice, so he could have discarded my cavalry reserves or my wayfinder. He could have discarded a lot of the cards that I needed. And so I was like, well, I may as well just use them up now. But perhaps I should have just worn the cost of losing something, and then tried to push into one of his provinces harder. It might have been a better idea, attacking, using all of that on attack rather than defense. So I readied my border rider. Oh yeah, honor her because she gets an extra, gets to go again, of course. So we go with water. I wouldn't have thought political. I don't think I want to do a political, do I? Military water, I get an extra fate out of it. We're going down the line here. We're going to take a couple. The Outrider is still ready and still able to move into a conflict. So watering, I'm thinking I can ready one of my units. In particular, I wanted to ready the Moto Horde. Oh my goodness. Oh, I remember that later. So it's the Art of War. If I break this province, he gets 3 cards. I should have gone the Fertile Fields, where he would have got 1 card, even if I didn't break it. But so he's saying no defenders. He actually would quite happily let me destroy this one. So I'm at 5. 2 for the Border Rider, 2 for the Utaku Infantry, and 1 for the Favour. Art of War, I believe, is a 3 strength province. So I just want to confirm that I'm breaking it. Yep, he's happy with that. He wants his cards. Alright, that's cool. So 2 broken provinces. And then I, quite without thinking, because I was thinking I have to declare a political, and I can't declare a political and use my Moto Horde. And so instead I ready the something else. I can't remember what I ready. But completely, why did I do that? I have a captive audience and I have a favourable ground. I think that my stronghold was bowed, so I wouldn't be able to bring in the Moto Horde into the captive audience. But of course I've got a favourable ground holding, which is there for just that sort of purpose. So I'm, and I'm going to say at some point later on. So he goes for the Shameful Display. I've already triggered it, so he knows there's no worries there. He's going Void, so he can. Most of my characters are going to leave play in a turn, so that's fine. So I just got to let it break. I don't want to use anything to defend against that. I want to get my next next conflict in. So he discards my champion, and I lose an honor for not defending. Moves a void off the Utaku. Moves a fate, sorry. So I've only got 1 character with any fate on me at the moment. Alright. We'll go for whatever this final remaining one is. I think if I can get some more honor onto some of my guys would be a good idea. It has to be political because I've already done military. So I put in my Outrider and I put in... I can't recognize that card, I'm sorry. It's a Meditations the Tau, which means during a conflict he can remove a fate from a character, which is perfect. He says, it's the Moto Youth, who has no political value but has a decent military and can go into a political conflict, and I can boost them. But he removes the fate, so he's wiped out all of the fate on all of my characters. So it's 2 versus 0, and because I was like, what? No, it's military, but it's not military yet. It's 2 versus 0, and then captive audience, really losing a lot of honor. Meditations the Tower is 4 strength. I have 5. 5-0. And this is why I really should have used the Moto Horde. I could have used the favourable ground to get them in. and then that would have been, instead of the Moto Youth, the Moto Horde, that would have been 9. Muramoto's Fury, well, he would have bowed the Horde, wouldn't he? So it would have been actually the same. Muramoto's Fury allows you to bow a character whose glory is equal to the number of unrevealed provinces, of which he has 1 unrevealed or 2 unrevealed. Muramoto's Fury has to be more than or equal to or less than? Sorry, I didn't read that in time. Because the Outrider is 2. He would have been able to bow the Horde though, so I guess it doesn't really matter in the end. And I can't quite do what I can, do anything else. Here we go, here's where that was my plan. That was my plan, using the Moto Horde twice. I mean, getting that extra benefit out of cavalry reserves and captive audience, getting a double whammy of, so effectively getting like 12 resources worth of cavalry out of 3 fate, you know. But no, I've got nothing else that I can use to bump this up. I'm sitting on 3. I needed 1 more and I just didn't have it. Which is very frustrating. I would have loved to have get that 3rd break in turn 2. That would have been huge. I do manage to take fire, and I'm going to use it to dishonour the Honoured General, actually. I don't want him gaining honour when it leaves play. I don't want it having the skill boost. It's got a decent glory. All of my stuff is leaving, and I've got a couple of 1 honoured, just 1 honoured I think at the moment. So I'm keeping the favour on military, because I have 3 rings versus his 1. But I lose everything. Okay, and see, this is where I think I suffer. He's got some really good, strong characters still in play, solid, high-cost characters still in play, whereas I had a huge number of characters that are gone. So all of that resources, all of that fate that I invested is kind of gone, whereas all that fate that he invested is kind of still there, or a lot of it's still there. So I turned up 2 copies of Shinjo. Man, if he hadn't quite managed to break my shameful display somehow, I don't know how, I don't know. Maybe if I defended it, having 3 copies of Shinjo to put in, it's pretty nice. It's pretty nice. I decide I will put in a Shinjo, and I'll put 1 fate on her, a Shinjo Altensanai. Yep, I put 1 on her, and then I can use the other copy of her to do another one. Sorry, I haven't explained what she does. She's the 5-cost champion for Unicorn. She has 5 military for political. She's cavalry and bushi, I believe. And after she wins a military conflict, she's able to discard a character from the opposing side, or they're allowed to choose a character to discard. That's why I have things like Assassinate and Fallen in Battle to try and really whittle down what choices they have that they can use. So another Honoured General with 3 fate on it, just spending all of that fate, and it's probably worthwhile because they're just the efficiency of that is incredible. So I throw out the youth. He passes to get his extra fate, and he's got 3 massive characters anyway. So I get rid of the unique copy, so that I get a bit more on Shinjo. And then I pass. I've got nothing else I can do anyway. I go for 2 cards, thinking I can afford to get rid of 1, but my gosh, I am low. 3 honor versus his 8. I go 2. He goes 5, which actually I was thrilled by. It gives me breathing room. I mean, obviously, that's harsh. He's going to get a whole bunch of cards, but it just helped. It just meant I didn't run out completely, and now it gives me a bit more room to maneuver later. After you break a province during a military conflict, I believe it's discard a participating character. But if I go for Meditations of the Tau, he's going to be able to discard the fate off these units. And actually, I should be going for the Fertile Fields, because him getting a card is probably not as big a deal as me losing the very little economy that I'm building up by investing in these characters, I guess. Maybe I'm wrong. So no pre-conflict actions, and I can't be bothered declaring my first conflict. You go first, buddy. Yep, so I passed my first one. I'm only going to do one conflict anyway, and I'd like him to try and bow out some of his potential defenders first. Okay. Oh, and he puts in a second character. He puts in all his characters. Oh, I would have been so happy if he'd have just sent Toturi by himself. Alright, well, they're all in there. It's the Endless Plains, which is only 2 strength anyway, but because I'm not planning on defending basically anyhow, and he only needs 2 strength to break it, I figure that's fine. Kill off one of these characters. At least they're all reasonably big characters to lose, but that's fine. I think there's Endless Plains is interesting, but I think on the whole, because I want to create a deck where I literally don't worry about defending it, and I think that might have been my problem last turn, is that I invested all that time defending a province when I should have just saved all that for the attack, even though I would have lost a card. I lose my captive audience, but actually he gets to do it twice, because it was a Kodo Toturi, which I forgot about. But I lose my Banzai. Harsh. But I think Endless Plains works, and that encourages that's the way you have to play with that. Tell me what you think about that. I may be very, very wrong. I'm still learning, you know. I didn't even notice I set my fate. I don't know what I did. Did I do my... I set my honor down. How did I get +1 fate? That's weird. I didn't mean to. Yeah, I did my honor loss. Yeah, he gets 2 cards from the ring, and also he won an Earth conflict. So he brings in all 3 of his Keeper Initiates and puts 1 fate on all of them. Aye. That is... Keeper Initiates are crazy. So, Meditations of the Tower is a terrible idea. He's got heaps of cards anyway, so bugger it. You know, 1 more when he's already got 11 isn't as big a deal as 1 more if he only had 2, you know. He's already got lots of options. So he says he has an action, so oops, yes, okay, sorry. For sure, go for that. He's going to use his Staging Ground to get some Matsu Briona, who can get extra fate on herself, and another Lion's Pride Brawler. Not bad. Alright, so let's go after those fertile fields. Let's see if we can nudge his honour further down. It's going to be military because it has to be, and we're just going to send everybody in. I do still have the favour, so I'm putting myself over by the favour to make sure we try and remember that. So I'm at 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm at 8. Because it is no longer the first military conflict. A with the favour. Yep. So, with all of his standing characters, he can get 3. But I have nothing I can do to actually bump up what I have, which is frustrating. 1, 2, 2. 8 to 2. Gets 1 more card. I'm passing. I'm 8 to 2, so I may as well pass. 8 to 4, which is technically still enough for me to break. And Guardians of the Ancestors, a lion attachment with 1 military, 1 political, but is allowed to be deployed as an action from your discard pile. 8 to 5, I've got nothing I can do to bump up that extra point, so he's happy to lose the conflict, but I do not break, so that's frustrating. I'm going to take the 1 from him. I want to get him closer to 0. So he's at 4 and I'm at 6. And I have 1 ring, he has 1 ring, but he also has 2 standing glory. So the favour now moves to him. I feel like what little momentum I got at the beginning is gone now. I feel like and because he's lost a military conflict, he brings in a Vengeful Oathkeeper to 1, 2 military, 1 political. As a reaction to losing a military, you can put them into play from your hand. So a nice quick little bit of extra Bushi madness. So, Political Void. There's the last 2 guys. It's on the Stronghold, which is fine because that is my ancestral lands, so it's 10, and he's going in there with 3. 2, actually. He's going in there with 2. I went to defend with someone who's bowed, but you're not allowed to do that. But I will have to use an action to bring Shinjo Altan-Sanai in as a defender, even though she has no political strength at the moment. So no defender. First action, bow my stronghold, move a cavalry. Oh my goodness. I completely did this the whole game. Stronghold only applies in military for Unicorn. I can't send her into a political. That is just... I mean, it doesn't really make much of a difference, but it would have lost me an honour. Terrible. So I lose the fate from the Moto Youth, from the Void conflict. And now the favour goes to my honourable opponent. So the youth goes, Altan-Sanai loses a fate, everyone over on the other side loses a fate, which is, my goodness, there's a few of them. He's discarded his Lion's Pride Brawler, which is interesting. I would have kept the Brawler, I suppose. Can't, most of mine have a high enough military to fight off the angry courtier. Right, well, we're all done. End the turn. Here we go. Let's see what we've got. What have I got for this turn? I have got an aggressive Moto, which can't be used as a defender, a Moto Horde, and a Warrior Poet. So my only political backing is the Warrior Poet, really. Which isn't good. So he turned up Ikoma Aiji and a Steadfast Samurai. A few options for him. So he's first player. He's got just a heck of a lot of guys there. And all he needs to do is get through a conflict on my stronghold. If he goes military, I tend to have reasonable military strength. If he goes political, I am weaker there, but the stronghold is better defended because of the ancestral lands. So I'm kind of curious to see what he'll go with. Puts out a Steadfast Samurai, just nice and cheap. I go with the Warrior Poet because they're probably the only real option I have. Brings out Matsu Bayona, and she gets 2 free fate because there are 3 other Bushi on the board. Put out the Moto Horde. And he's done, so he gets an extra fate. He's up to 4. I use mine up and just put out the aggressive Moto as well. And now I was worried about my honor, so I went 1, but actually I probably should have gone 5. The worst I would have got down to is 2 honor. Maybe if I'd have gone 4 or something in case I got an assassination. Yeah, so he did 1 as well. I got 1, and it's just, I can't use it. It's just no use for me at all. Sashimono allows Bushi I control to not bow after military conflicts, which could be useful if I have things like captive audience or breakthrough, things like that. So he turns over his staging ground. He gets another Matsubayona and a what was that? Honorable Librarian, Venerable Historian. Totally different, but kind of similar. Nothing particularly useful there, but it does make me think he's probably got a charge that he might want to use. And he gets the first conflict. So what's he going to send against my stronghold? Here we go. Okay, so it's a water conflict. In case he loses, he can bow out some of my other guys and keep me from doing much damage. And water gains him an extra fate, so he's up to 5, which is pretty darn good. Okay, and it is military. And one more keeper in there. Okay. So he's gone with military, so it is my... I'm better on military, but also the ancestral lands are weaker. So I throw in these 2 in the hopes that the other 2 I can use to attack him. I want to do the minimum, but yeah, first action, my poet reduces all other participating enemy characters by 1. So I'm at 8 with the Horde and the Poet, so 6 plus 2. And I count him at 8 initially. 9 with the Favor. So he gets 18, which... Oh yes, okay, so the general gives +1 to every other, so that's 4, 7, but 4, 3, no 5, 1, and 1. So that gets me to 11. And then the poet is -5, basically. Oh, and then I see that there's Katana and Spirit of the Ancestors. The attachments gets you back up to 14. check if he's got any actions. 3, 3, 5, 1, 4 from the characters, which is 16. And then -5 from the poet, because everyone lost 1. +3 from the general, because it's only lion characters, not the keeper and not himself. So 16, 11, I'm 14. I'm seeing it at 14. Yeah, so he's agreeing it's 14. Cool, we're on the same page. Always important to make sure. I have 8. Any actions? I don't think I've kept the favour. I think he's at 15 with the favour. He's got no actions. Okay, so first things first, let's get in the aggressive moto. He can't be declared as a defender, but he can be moved into a conflict as a defender. So it's now 14 versus 11. Master of the Spear, 3-cost conflict character, 2/2 with 1 glory. While this character is attacking, your opponent must choose a participating character he or she controls and move that character home. So, the lowest military value is my warrior poet. It says while this character is participating, and I'm not sure if that means she has to stay there. So I'm going to take the aggressive moto out. The Master of the Spear adds 3 more. Only 3. Why 22? It's only 3 more, so it's 17. I use the favourable ground to bring in Shinjo, so I'm now back at 14. He says no. I was declaring good game because 14 is the best I can do. 22 is too good for me. So no, we're only at 17 to 13 for the Master of the Spear, which confused me for a moment. I was like, but you just said 22. What am I missing? And then he uses his Stronghold, which gains him 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So now it's 22, 23. And now it's a good game. So, I really enjoyed that. I quite enjoyed playing the Unicorn. I initially tried Lion out because I thought that simple, straightforward military attacking would be fun. And then I saw Unicorn and thought it's even more that way, even harder. So give me some advice. What do you think I should be doing differently? What things do you think I should be focusing on my Dynasty and Conflict decks? Is Lion the best way to go for Greater Glory, Sashimono, or should I be doing something else? Should I put in some Maya Mystics, get some attachment control? If I had done a bigger honor bid and taken more cards, it looks like they wouldn't have actually helped me really anyway. Charge, I had nothing in my provinces. Spyglass only helps with politics. So, get engaged, give me some comments, tell me what you think, and I will see you next time. Bye.